welcome back to the NoScore Review Show. I'm your host, Nick Green, and today I have two guests joining me. My first guest shared his first thoughts on our topic that we're discussing today a few episodes back. Cole Parkinson is back on the NoScore Review
Hello.
Show. Welcome back, Cole.
Yeah, here we go. Full review this time.
Full review.
We stay on the rails for more than 10 minutes this time.
I wouldn't bet on it, but we'll see. Wishful thinking. And my second guest made his first appearance on the Rings of Power episode where we tore that show a new one. Danny Lazaro is joining me for our God of War Ragnarok full thoughts review. Welcome back, Danny.
Hi. Nice to be back, Nikolai.
A man of few words, much like our protagonist in this game that we are going to be reviewing. Yeah, we are, like I said, reviewing God of War Ragnarok, where it's going to be our full thoughts. We are going to stick to no spoilers for the first little bit, just what we thought of the game as a whole now that we've completed at least the main story. I haven't platinumed it yet or anything. I think these two have, but I've gotten past the main story and the full roll credits. So we'll give our no spoilers thoughts on that, and then we will dive in to more nitty gritty stuff. Cole, do you want to get things kicked off with our general thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. I think for the most part, I loved it just as much as the first one. I don't know if I liked it any better or any less.
Okay.
I think I'll have to replay them back to back to really kind of get the full sense. But to me, it felt like this was like the second half of the first game where it's mainly a two-part story, right? And they explain that like it's two games, but it's really one story. So there was some stuff I liked better. There's some stuff I liked a little bit less better, but for the most part, I think it's been getting perfect 10s across the board, and I wouldn't really argue with that. Again, not a perfect game in my opinion, but again, a 10 out of 10 doesn't necessarily mean a perfect game because perfect game, good luck getting that with anybody, right? Any game, any maker, anybody. So yeah, for the most part, again, I played 45 hours and 30 minutes, got the platinum. I love pretty much every second. There was a couple parts, I won't get into too big spoilers, but some of the big boss battles at the end, I was just like, fuck this game. I don't want to play it anymore. Namely the Valkyrie Queen at the end, but we could talk about that for hours and I would still just be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I loved it.
Awesome. Danny, what were your general thoughts?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It does feel like the second part of the first game, right? As opposed to, I don't know, it is a good sequel. Like, it's a fantastic sequel.
Yeah.
But the first game had a lot more impact and massive event points throughout the story, I feel.
Right.
But this one had two massive points of events from what I remember, like the beginning, the intro, and then the end.
Right.
And then there was a lot less middle ones.
Okay.
Some of the side quests kind of bring it back up a little bit, but I preferred the first game because it had more impactful moments. Yeah. That's just general thoughts.
Yeah, I could kind of agree with that. Like, the first game kind of felt like, especially in terms of story, it felt like there were way more drastic points of peaks and valleys, whereas the second one to me kind of felt like it was had built up this high, and then we kind of just rode that high, but it was a consistent high throughout the whole game. So it wasn't a lot of ebb and flow. But I think it, like you guys said, it was a very successful continuation. And I think that's probably one of the better ways of describing this game, especially in terms of the story. It was like a continuation of these characters' stories and everything, and this world that we got to explore more of and discover more about. The first game definitely had way more. It's kind of in the sense of how the Last of Us game is. It feels way more like a concise beginning and end story. And then part 2 or Ragnarok, I'm mixing my games up here, is way more just of a continuation point, and it doesn't feel. It's also weird because like like more traditional storytelling that we've gotten over the years. It's like it's usually like 3 parts, right? A trilogy or
Yeah.
whatever, and this is just a two game series. Um, so yeah, it's not like the pacing was like not good or anything. It's just like just a very good follow up. Um, and yeah, Cole, like you said, there were some things that I think I liked a little less in this game. I think
Mhm.
particularly in gameplay standpoint. And I
Yeah.
think I got warmed up to it as the hours went on, getting used to the new systems and everything. There's way more in depth to a bunch of the systems. Like
Yeah.
there's way more customizations with your like skills and your toolkit of like gear, um, which allows for a little bit more experimentation. I myself didn't find myself wanting to experiment that much. Like in
No.
terms of the shield, in particular, I was like, I love this shield. I don't need anything else really. So
Yeah. I mean, just to jump off that, I was the same. Like once I found, moves that I liked and I knew did damage and I could get them off, I was just sticking with that.
yeah,
Shield wise too, like I just bought the best one that was good at protecting and I was like, I'm using this because I don't want to get hit by these massive attacks and die immediately. So
right.
yeah, like it wants you to explore these systems and I applaud them for that, but I don't know. For me, I was kind of the same where I was like, I set it and forget it, and I'm not gonna
Hmm.
do too much with it. Like I tried to, but once you get near the end game, like the enemies get so hard that I'm not gonna sit there and pretend like, oh, I need to do this and this and this. It's like I'm just gonna do what I know how to do
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I don't want to sit here for the next 3 hours doing
Yeah.
this. So
You're not going to experiment as much in the end game.
no,
I will say though, like I did force myself a little bit in this first playthrough of the game to experiment with some of the new like runic attacks and whatnot, just to
yep,
like see how they worked and whatnot. But like I found myself, because they do bring some runic attacks from the first game into this one, and I found myself like as soon as I found them, I'm like, oh, I used that in the first game. I'm just going to use that again.
yeah,
But like even in my first comparing my first and second playthroughs of God of War 2018, like in my first playthrough, once I found what I liked, I stuck to it. But then in my second playthrough, I like kind of changed it up a little and experimented a little more. So like I'm sure in future playthroughs I'll maybe like experiment a little more, maybe delve more into the shields and stuff. But I was very much kind of conservative in some of my ability picking.
yeah,
Um, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I
uh,
was I was the same with the shields. Like when I found the one shield I liked, that's it. I
yeah,
stuck to it. But every time I unlocked something, I would always integrate it into what I was doing in the game.
hmm,
And if it worked, it would stick. But if it didn't work, I'd slowly forget about it.
right,
But I would always try everything like that I would unlock
right. Yeah, I
and see
think
if it works.
there were some. It usually was like if it visually looked cool, like especially in the runic attack
Yeah.
department, it was
yeah,
like if it was a really cool looking runic attack, I'm like, oh, I'll try that out. And
Yeah.
then like you said, Danny, if it actually was very effective in combat, I was like, it'll stick around until I
Yeah.
find something cooler or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah,
As soon as I unlocked L1 triangle, I tried it out and I never went back. That's it. I
exactly.
always
Yeah,
use that. Always use
yeah.
that.
yeah,
Um, in terms of like story, though, I think it definitely took some turns I wasn't expecting, but I wasn't disappointed by that uh like change of expectations. And I think part of that was a little bit of the build up leading up to this game. Like they had confirmed months back that Ragnarok would be the final part to this
yeah,
story. So that kind of like planted the seed in mine and many others' heads, like that Kratos might die or something.
yeah. I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler thing. Um, but
I mean,
like,
even if he died, they were bringing him back. So I mean, is it really a spoiler? I don't know.
right.
It's
Yeah.
one of those characters, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like to get kind of to the point I wanted to make is like um the lead up to this game, they had confirmed those things. Uh so I had that in my head of like, oh, this is probably how this is going to go. And with it being the final chapter, it's like it's hard to envision it any other way, right? Especially with something so monumental as Ragnarok in like the Norse mythology, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty big deal, and it'll have like pretty lasting effects. So, but I was never really disappointed with the way the story took its direction, or with the characters either. Um, and yeah, what did you guys kind of think of the story? No spoiler wise. We'll get to the nitty gritty soon, but
Yeah.
kind of just general thoughts of like what
Yeah.
the spoil or the story did for you, Danny.
Um, the story, I really enjoyed it. The whole story, I loved. I loved the story, but I still like up until the end, 100% completion. There's still this like little thing. I'm a little bit unsatisfied, just like there's
Okay,
something missing, but I can't put
put your
my
finger on it.
finger on it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But overall, I loved the story. I loved the twists and turns. I loved the the relationship, the growing of the relationship,
Yeah,
father son relationship, and other relationships as well. And like, uh, I don't think it's a spoiler, but Kratos actually like changing,
yeah.
Yep.
opening up a little bit.
Hmm.
And but like it doesn't just slam into it right away. The game actually slowly takes it up because like uh, he's been living in was it Midgard?
Hmm.
Midgard, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. He's been living there for a few years between like from the last game.
Hmm.
And so he's already opened up, but they slowly introduce it with these interaction that you slowly have throughout the game. So it doesn't like it's not jarring.
Hmm.
So it's very good. And then just yeah, the whole progression I loved and yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I think
certain.
it wasn't as big of a like character change from like the grizzled, closed off, like PTSD stricken war
Yeah,
general to this
yeah,
like caring, loving father. It was
Yeah.
more of a like, oh, he is a caring, loving father now, and he's just trying to protect his kid, right? And he's the struggle throughout the game in terms of Kratos is more so like learning to let go and learning to trust
Hmm.
more, right?
yeah,
So we still got some character change too, but we also just got to sit with the new Kratos with for
yeah,
most of the game, which was really refreshing and cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the change, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's nice that they built it up over 2 games too, right? If it would have been the
Yeah,
first game where all of this happened, I think it might have been a little jarring, especially for longtime God of War fans where they know this one character as this one thing.
yeah,
I mean, it took a lot of balls to be like, we're making Kratos a completely different route than what you might think, and I
hmm,
think they nailed it with over 2 games. Like, is
Yeah,
he still angry? Is there still that semblance of old Kratos in there? Absolutely, you see that quite a bit in the game, but
hmm,
you also see the other side where he's taking a different route to be a different man for his kid, not necessarily for anyone else. Which
hmm,
yeah,
in the old games he was doing everything for everybody else, where now
yeah,
he's got someone to look after and to protect.
yeah,
yeah.
totally. All right. Well, I think we'll finally take the handcuffs off and we'll get into the nitty gritty of the game. So this is your
Odin,
spoiler.
that piece of shit.
This is your spoiler
Deceiver.
warning. If you don't want spoilers, duck out now. Come back later once you've played the game or whatever. If you don't care about spoilers, then stick around. Um, Danny, do you by chance want to kick things off?
No, no, I just wanted to come out with like the main spoiler
Yeah.
right away. Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, it's
you
it's pretty
did
much
pretty well.
hinted
It's
at the very beginning, so I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
So I think we'll revisit kind of what me and Cole talked about a little bit in our first thoughts, because I
sure,
think we touched on it a little bit.
yep,
We had talked about because we were like about 10 hours in, but like man, What a fucking start to that game, hey?
So good.
Like,
Yeah.
at least half of the trailer that we got of the game was in the first 2 hours, like,
Yep.
holy shit. Such a strong start.
Yeah, and it really doesn't let up either. Like, is there some slow moments? Yeah, I know people point to like the Angry Boda stuff as being like slow, and I get it, but at the same time, like if it was breakneck speed for 45 hours straight, I don't know. You need time to
I don't know
breathe,
how you
so
do that. Yeah.
yeah, like there needs to be some, and especially with Atreus, right? Like you know him, but you know him through Kratos' eyes. It was nice to
Yeah,
see him
totally.
through, you know, interacting with somebody that wasn't his dad or
Mhm.
Mimir. Like that's, or I guess
Yeah.
Freya. You get a little bit of Freya too, but completely someone his own age, someone who can relate to him. She's a giant too, so like I know people kind of dog on that part of the game, but I actually really loved that entire interaction. I
Me
know that's
too,
kind of
yeah.
later in the game, but I know people didn't like that, but to me that
Mhm.
was such a great moment for Atreus, and to see who he was, and it kind of foreshadowed who he's going to be.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think the pacing of the game of having those Kratos and Atreus sections,
Mm,
um, personally, like it took a bit of getting used to of like, oh, this is kind of
yep.
like because it's a bit of a slower pace, right? Because you're spending large chunks of time with Kratos, and then you're going over to Atreus, and then they'll meet up occasionally, but then they'll like go back on their own paths again. So it's like
Yep.
it takes a bit of getting used to, especially compared to the first game where it was just them like the whole time. That's like the entire crux of that game is
Yep.
like a father and son. So yeah, it definitely slows down a bit. So Atreus can like grow into his own person, right? And actually develop a bit more character, and find out who he wants to be, and like being a teenager and everything, right? Girl
Yeah.
trouble and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, and then Kratos also just uh, like mending broken bonds with like Freya and like helping out the Huldra brothers and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then also that just the entire family dynamic once things are a little more like mended back together after like Freya like comes back to the
Yeah.
light side or whatever.
Yeah.
um and like developing that family dynamic of the dwarves and Freya and Tyr and all of them together in Mimir, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
um Yeah, it was a different pace, but I think once you settled into it, it's kind of the same thing as the gameplay. And once you've settled in, it's like it feels very natural, and the writing was just so masterful that it felt
Yep.
felt real and felt natural, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the uh like so much of the like just side dialogue when you're doing random stuff is just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good, man.
It's such a funny game. Like
It's
I
so
don't I don't
funny.
I don't know if the first game is necessarily classified as like being super funny, but man,
No.
did I laugh my ass off. I think the squirrels are might be the favorite addition for this game. Like anytime I had to talk to any of those squirrels, laughing my ass off, them just beaking Kratos is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great addition. But yeah, like just side chats where they're talking about nothing just make me burst out laughing, and I don't know
Yeah,
if I can
man.
remember that about the first game nearly as much as this one.
No, it
Right.
was definitely way more somber and like serious in tone. There might
Yeah.
have been like a couple moments here and there, especially like Mimir. I think Mimir was
Yeah.
probably the primary like comic relief in the first
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
But there's way more witty
Oh,
banter and stuff
so funny.
back and
And
forth
all
through
the
all of them.
characters, it seems like, get into it too. It's not like
Totally.
even Kratos was making me laugh,
Yeah.
like with just some of his
Yeah.
responses, and just like that's, I don't know. It's, I guess you don't necessarily need that in a God of War game, but man, does it help
It
make
just
me
Yeah.
want to pick
lends
up
to
the
building
controller
those
again, right?
characters, right? Like
Yeah.
it's you're spending this long with these characters. It's nice to have this level and depth of rapport between them. Like that riddle like
Yeah.
side story was hilarious in its own right. There's a
Yeah.
Yeah.
bunch of good one-liners like early on when Sindri takes the Bifrost away is like I also used it as a light. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
just such throwaway laws. It's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
And it's acknowledging like game systems that were in the first game too, right?
Yeah.
It's so many layers.
Yeah. My favorite. like the dialogue between Mimir and Kratos is probably my favorite part of the game. Just those two, and my favorite line in the whole entire game is you see a dragon's foot on the ground, and Mimir says, "That's a big foot," and Kratos is just like, "Smartest man alive." So sarcastic, like it's not in his character, but then you like it doesn't throw you off. It just works so well. It's like that's
It's
my
so
favorite.
seamless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and like the Danny, you were telling me about this a few days ago, but like when you complete, so like after the game's done and you're completing the remnants of Asgard, there's the one in Muspelheim where there's like a rune read that reads like Asgard reigns again or whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Kratos is like, no, it is not.
yeah, yeah. But like before you even know what it says, right? You click on it, and
Yeah,
then
he
he's like,
says it
"No,
and
it
then
does
you go
not."
read it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does not. And then all those little book things that they added in the game, I love it. Especially the ones that are written by Kratos. You know about the
Yeah.
enemies, this and that.
Yeah, because
I
he's
like
the one writing the entries this time around. Because it was like as if Atreus was writing it in the first game, right? You're
right,
looking at
right,
his
yeah.
journal, but
Yeah, I think Mimir and Kratos share all the like I read every single entry, and some of it's written by Mimir and some of it's
yeah,
written by Kratos. More of like the battle stuff is written by Kratos.
yeah, like all the
Yeah,
enemy types and whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that
The
whole
weaknesses.
relationship with Mimir and Kratos was just fantastic.
Yeah,
Having Kratos like have a relationship, like a brotherly relationship again too.
Yeah.
Um, it was just such a nice dynamic. Kind of
yeah,
like s- uh like bouncing off of a brotherly relationship, we also kind of get more backstory of Kratos in this game too, was which was a really cool incorporation. Like they drop little hints here and there of like his time in the Greek pantheon and whatnot, and
Yep.
like his homeland and whatnot. Like, what food do you miss from your homeland? Olives.
Yeah.
olives.
It's a
What the
great
hell's
like,
an olive?
yeah. What the hell is an olive? Yeah, more comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So good.
Um, yeah, the it cannot be stated enough that like the writing in this game, um, both in small parts and big parts, were just phenomenal. I guess we can get into some of the more bigger um story points. Cole, what were like one or two that kind of stood out to you as like favorites or just notable
Um,
story
I think
points?
the tier reveal is probably like the biggest thing. Like that, I know that like I watch videos and it's like, oh, there's hints here, there's hints there. It's like I don't know, none of it clicked with me until that moment.
No,
Like when Brock starts going like you're
he's
not.
like getting in his face.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, okay, like who is this? Like I still didn't think it would be Odin, but
yeah,
that was mind blowing.
yeah,
Um, and I think at the ending is really solid.
yeah,
Kratos saying, "Okay, Atreus, go your own way," and then he sees the mural where like people actually like him now as a god,
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
like bowing to
yeah,
him. That
He's
was
praised
awesome. Like
as a god. Yeah,
yeah,
considering the first game, he kind of it shows that he's gonna die, and this one shows that like when
yeah,
he does die, he's gonna be kind of revered. I thought that was a great way to go out. How they're gonna go about doing that, I don't know. Like is that just
yeah,
a Norse thing? Like, how are they going to show he's kind of been turned around as a favorite god instead of God of War? I don't know, but those two
yeah.
moments are huge, and like we talked about at the beginning, so that's another like seeing Thor the first time was just mind
Oh,
blowing. But that
yeah.
Thor fight is awesome. Like, there's so many great moments. Like again, it's a long game, so like even in the
There's a
moments
lot.
where it's slow, like
Yeah,
something's coming around the corner. So
yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. Like
Go ahead, Danny.
the like when like at the end when Kratos sees the mural, and like he actually like for the first time you see him like tear up,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, he like
It's
pauses.
like
Yeah,
yeah. He
yeah, and
like
like
takes a breath.
yeah, and like way before that moment, Odin says,
What do you
have you
know of
ever been
godhood? Yeah,
worshipped?
yeah.
Yeah, have
Do
you
you
ever
even know
been
that kind
worshipped?"
of love? Yeah,
Yeah, and now he's gonna get that love,
yeah,
or he in towards the end of the game he already does. You know, like all these people you help on the side quest, they
yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, they
Yeah.
actually thank him.
Yeah, and like when they're preparing for Ragnarok, like the Valkyries are like, I'd be
Yeah.
happy to fight alongside you, right? And like all of
Yeah.
like Freyr's little camp too, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
they revere him.
Yeah.
So good. I think
Yeah.
there's quite a there, yeah, there's a couple parts where they pack so much into those moments. Like in the beginning part,
Yeah.
uh Cole, you and me talked about like Freya
Freya.
attacks you,
Yep.
Fenrir dies, is introduced and dies,
Then dies. Yeah.
and then uh Atreus becomes a bear,
Yeah.
and then Odin and Thor fucking show
Show
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just so much in such
Yeah.
little time. And then like even with the tier reveal, it's like uh what was it? It was like they have Gjallarhorn, right? They're trying to figure
Yep.
out what to do. And then Brock is like getting in Tyr's face. Tyr is revealed to be Odin.
Yep.
Odin kills Brock, and then
Yeah. Another
Odin
huge
almost
moment.
gets away with the mask too. Like
Yeah.
there's just so
And
much
then
packed into these
we haven't
moments.
even talked about Ragnarok yet, which is like the
No,
biggest set piece of the game.
it's the
So
fucking title of the game.
yeah.
We haven't even got there yet. Yeah, man. There's so many huge points. And I think like you said, Cole, like there's just so many uh noteworthy points in this game, and it
Yeah.
feels way bigger because also we get to go to like all 9 realms too this time
Yeah.
around.
And I feel
Like
like there's
we're
just so many more characters that you interact with in this game, like,
totally,
and they're all so
totally.
well done. Like, I wanted to spend time with all of them. Like, there wasn't a single
Yeah,
time where I was like, I don't want to be around you. Like, all of the new characters are awesome. Like,
yeah,
even Thor and Odin, they're kind of dickheads, but at the same time, I
yeah,
want to be in their sphere and see how they're
yeah.
interacting and why they're there the way they are, right?
I would say maybe Heimdall. I wouldn't want to spend any
Oh,
more time
Heimdall's,
with.
yeah, no.
He was a bit of a shit.
That's an awesome
Um,
fight, though. Again, another
that was a
great
really good
moment in the
fight.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Again, I didn't expect it to really go the way it did. Like I thought it was going to be way more of like a reveal of having the spear. I thought like it was going to be like you'd like fight him a little bit and then right at the last second you like bring it out, right? But that you just
No.
use it the whole time. But I mean, it still worked. It was fantastic. That arm part where he blows off his arm. Oh, this is your final
So
word.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love at the end of that battle where Kratos is like choking him, right?
Mhm.
And Mimir is there. He's like, "No, this is not who you want to be," right? And
Yeah,
then
and
he's
it's
like,
too
"Oh, it's
late.
too late."
Yeah.
Ragnarok. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's so many big moments. Um yeah, Ragnarok. Should we talk about Ragnarok? There's
Yeah.
so much going on in that scene alone, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we didn't even really talk about how Sindri takes Brock's death because that's like a huge last quarter of the game. Like being around him
Yeah,
during that was like
yeah,
tough. Every time I saw him, I'm like, oh, is
yeah,
he gonna
man. I
turn
had to.
on them? Like there was points where I was like, is he just gonna just up and leave and be like, fuck you guys, you're on your own? Because I totally
Yeah,
thought that was gonna happen.
I was very surprised when he like shouted out, "I'll go to Svartalfheim" or whatever. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, he's okay. He'll help out, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was like on a warpath, man. When you were in Asgard as
Oh
Atreus
yeah.
following him around,
Yeah.
Yeah.
jeez. Yeah. As or Ragnarok was like exceptionally well done. Like
Yep.
Mhm.
there's just so much like anywhere you look, there's something
Yeah.
notable happening. Like Angerboda coming in with Fenrir and I think that was Specky and Svanna that came with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I think so.
Um and like tackling Einherjar, and then you see Jormungandr battling Thor in the background
Yeah,
too.
sends him back in time. So cool.
Yeah.
Paid off
Yeah,
completely.
yeah, absolutely. And then Ragnarok freaking shows up too, right?
Yeah.
I think another thing I'm kind of like twisting into the whole game is like I think one of my favorite parts of the game was the transitions between Atreus and Kratos,
Yeah.
because like there's some of them where they're like freaking instant and you're just back as Kratos like hitting the crap out of enemies, and it's just so
Yeah.
satisfying. But
It's like a
yeah,
good scene transition in a movie.
yeah, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
that one scene like where they pick up or Atreus puts down his knife and then Kratos picks it back up, right? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
so smooth.
Mhm.
I
But
also
yeah,
love when
Ragnarok.
Atreus is gonna go through the door and Kratos pops open. the door
Oh
before
yeah.
you get
Oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
awesung.
He's like,
I was like,
oh,
oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
That was
little
probably
kid.
my favorite transition. Like when he just pops open through the door, it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Chest comes up first
Yeah,
before
his
his head.
chest comes up.
Yeah.
Chest first, then head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Ragnarok was very well done. I think the Thor and Odin fight. I was actually surprised that we were going to fight Odin because, like, one on
Mhm.
that initial introduction to him in Kratos's house, like he felt way more like just like scheming and conniving. And I thought it might be more of like a cutscene death for Odin if he were to die. But it was a really cool fight because like he also like was it him that leaned into like all of the different elements for each weapon, or was that a
Yeah.
different boss fight?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Odin.
Okay. But yeah, that was a really cool like where he transitions between different elements. You got to bring out your different weapons to try and
Yeah.
tackle it, and you have to like move around the battlefield too when he like
Yeah.
brings that area of effect attack out. Right. It's
Yeah.
very well
I
done.
love I love like Asgard, how it's just like this Norse village,
Yeah.
compared to the Greek gods on Mount Olympus,
Yeah.
like
This
just
Yeah.
beacon of
drowning
white and
in
gold.
gold. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just like it kind of takes you back, like, you kind of get like a little bit as you're working your way down, and then Odin doesn't really have a mansion or anything. He's just in the gathering hall, right? He's got his own little office. That's it. And then it kind of makes you like question yourself. He's like, oh, he seems like a pretty cool guy,
Yeah,
actually.
man.
Yeah.
No,
He
Yeah.
was a fantastic salesman. That
Oh yeah.
first scene with him in Kratos' house, I'm like, this sounds
Just
like a
take the
really good
deal.
deal. Yeah, take
yeah,
the deal, man.
Yeah. There were
yeah,
several times I was like, are they like why are they so against Odin? Like, is he really as bad
yeah,
as they say he is? Like,
Yeah.
there were multiple times, like, especially when he was interacting with Atreus. It's like I know he's using him, but is he really gonna like just murder him and throw him to the side? I don't know,
Yeah.
yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that was really well done.
The acting was phenomenal
Yeah.
of like the bad guys in this game,
Totally.
yeah, like they really captured the performance of these actors
Hmm. Yeah.
in these little cutscenes and everything, these little
Totally.
interactions. Yeah,
Yeah. Thor's like kind of whole arc throughout the game was very well done, and his dynamic with his family too, and Thrud and
Yeah.
Sif were beautiful. I loved that bar fight scene. That was
oh,
so
yeah,
freaking cool, man.
that was good.
Good fight.
Have, have you played all this? Like, have you like 100% all the side quests, Nicholas?
No, I haven't like platinumed everything yet. Um I think the extent I've played is I've beaten the Valkyrie Queen, and we
Oh
can get
god.
into that a little bit.
Oh
Yeah.
But and I've completed the Remnants of Asgard, and I think there's a couple tiny things I've done after the main credit roll as well.
Have you?
That's the other thing too, is there's two kind of credit rolls in the game.
yeah.
um but I've done the second one, like I've attended Brock's funeral.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
which
That
was
that
that
hits.
was like heart-wrenching too,
Yeah,
man. Like,
Brutal.
oh
yeah, that hits so hard,
yeah,
and it's like all the characters in the game open up their heart
yeah,
to one another, and Kratos, for the first time ever, changes his motto, "Open up your heart," right?
yeah,
Yeah.
And Sindri is the only character that closes off his heart to everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
a complete change, you know?
Yeah, well, and he was like one of the most open characters in the
Yeah.
first game and this game too, right? Like he
Yeah,
was so helpful to everybody and like wanted to help.
yeah.
But then he got everything taken away from him.
It's a complete reversal of both of those characters
Yeah,
in tandem, you know? It's like
Yeah.
it
yeah,
was right next to each other.
absolutely.
It was fantastic.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Freya's arc too was
Awesome.
such a good
Yep.
storyline. Like I didn't
Yeah.
expect that at all. I thought she was just going to be another like enemy that we would have to deal with in the game,
Yeah.
but like they put her through the ringer. Like even in side quest stuff too, we got to find out more about her like torture from Odin and the
Yeah.
whole wedding
And I love that
ceremony and
she
everything.
kind of took the Atreus role when he's
Yeah,
gone, like she's with you. That was awesome. Like just
I
spending more
love
time
that
with her was
system.
so great.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
the new companion system was of
Yep.
welcome addition. It was very
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
I played the whole game with Atreus,
Hmm.
only a little bit with Freya. But I'm waiting for them to come out with New Game Plus because I want to play everything again with Freya though this
Yeah.
time. And get all her lines of dialogue and
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's probably also more spots you could go with Brock too, because you do get him as a
oh yeah,
companion
Yep.
very briefly as well. I
yeah,
know, like story wise, you couldn't play through the whole game with him, but like I'm
Yeah.
sure
Just a
there's
little
a
section.
couple. Yeah, exactly. Because even that was fun. The tiny part
So
you got
great.
with Brock.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then he dies minutes after you're done that. So it's
Yeah,
just like, oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
yeah.
Brutal. What else do we want to talk
And
about?
I think like Kratos had out of all his friends had the most respect for Brock as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Like
yeah.
actually lets him bless the spear and stuff. Like, oh no, you do
Oh,
it right.
dude, that
Yeah,
moment that might be one of my favorite moments of the
yeah,
game is the
Yeah.
the drop near spear uh creation and blessing.
yeah,
That was just so well done.
yeah. Like having these impactful moments between these two characters, you would think you'd pick up on oh something bad's gonna happen to Brock, right? But the game doesn't hint to that at
No,
all, right?
no.
Because like in a normal movie, you'd be watching it, it's just like, oh, this guy's awesome. Wait a minute, he's gonna get capped, right?
Yeah.
But no, the game way the game goes about it is phenomenal.
Hmm. Totally. And yeah, the performances, we kind of touched on that already, but performances, like every single one of
Oh,
them like
Yeah,
deserved an award. Like
oh
even
man,
the
Christopher
smallest parts,
Judge.
man. Yeah,
How they're gonna cast anybody as Kratos in this new show when they have to go? They're not gonna pick Christopher Judge. Good luck, man. I don't know how anyone's
good
gonna
luck.
top that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I have no idea.
yeah.
It,
He's perfect.
it
Oh,
almost would have been easier because like this is a bit of a tangent. We're getting off track. But with the show that got confirmed, like it almost would have been easier to start with like the Greek trilogy because then
yeah,
it's a little bit more of a departure from the Kratos we have currently, right?
yeah,
Like
Mhm,
you kind of could cast more of the like hot-headed, rage-induced
yeah.
um like war general, right?
mhm.
Um but yeah, getting back to the game, I think I the music was again phenomenal. Bear
Yep.
McCreary knocked
Oh,
it out of
so
the
good.
park
Yep.
again.
Mhm,
Um, I think like I loved like the giants and the like Atreus's theme throughout the
Mm,
whole uh, game. I think they dialed back a little bit the main God of War theme, uh, like from the first game. It felt to me anyway. Like I think they leaned into that way more in the first game. Um, and I think it was a little bit more diversified, especially like from the different realms and everything too. We got a little bit more variety,
mhm.
but I think it was again phenomenal.
that's something PlayStation's really been nailing it with their first party games is the music.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I can't think of a game over the last 5 years where the music hasn't been so stellar that I don't want to just listen to it by myself without playing the
totally.
game. Like, yeah, this is another one. Like both God of War games have been great. Last of Us games, fantastic. Like
Yeah,
Ghost of Tsushima was so good. Like all of
exactly.
their first party stuff is
I would
they
say
really take care of that.
maybe the one is, although I haven't like benefit of the doubt, I haven't played Forbidden West and I haven't finished Zero Dawn, but like the
Yeah,
Horizon ones probably would feel the weakest to me in terms of score anyway.
yeah.
Um, all right. Do you either of you want to point out like one more highlight or like actually let's like any low lights you have for the game, Danny? Anything that kind of stuck out for you in terms of like low
Ooh,
lights or something you weren't like crazy about? Because it's been
low
nothing but
lights.
praise for the past like 30 minutes.
Man, I don't know actually. I need a minute to think about that. It's been a minute since I played the game.
Yeah. Cole, do you have
But
anything?
Um, mainly just what we talked about before, like going into a new area and them being like, go right here, do this, do that, do this, do that. And it's like I
Oh
need
yeah,
I need time to look around. That was the biggest like I think that was the main reason I was like just kind of done with the game at certain points. I was like, I don't want to explore anymore because I don't need these people telling me what I need to do immediately.
yeah.
So that was the biggest one for me.
What we talked about in the first review. I tried turning that setting on that I thought would help.
Yeah.
I think it only actually extends the puzzle timing for you. It doesn't like extend the time before you get hints.
Yeah.
And I would completely agree. I think
Yeah.
like once I started it, I didn't notice it as much in the beginning hours of the game because I think I was just kind of taking everything in still. But
Yeah.
like once I like really listened in, it was like
Oh,
nonstop, like
yeah.
immediate hints, and it's like, dude, dial it back. Let me
Yeah.
explore a
Even
little
when
bit
you're like
beforehand.
halfway through it and they're like, do this, it's like you literally I'm
I'm
just in a
doing
new
it right
area.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I know what I'm doing. Like
yeah,
if I need your help, it would be awesome if there was a timer for like 30 minutes, then maybe. But for the most
yeah.
part, like there wasn't any particular puzzle where I was like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So
And
that's
like
one.
the in combat, the like Kratos, you're on fire.
Oh
No
yeah, that's another one.
shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny the
I
first couple times, but after the
it
20th
yeah.
time in the same fight, it's like, okay, yes, yes, yes.
So I
Don't worry,
get
it'll
that as a
pass.
toggleable feature. Like if that was like an accessibility feature you could turn on for like someone like who needed more audio cues, that
Yeah.
makes complete sense. But like yeah, I don't know. As just like a baseline setting, it was like kind of a
Oh,
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
maybe it
thing.
is an accessibility thing, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, you might be
For
able to turn it off. Like I'd have
maybe.
to look,
But
but
even then, like, give some variation. Like, have them record more lines instead of just one each, and be like, "That's good enough." Because yeah,
yeah,
after a while, it's like I don't want to deal
yeah,
with this.
yeah. You probably already knew that. I did. I very
Yeah,
much
I'm
did. Thank
watching
you.
the screen. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
no.
Um, any other low lights, Danny?
Yeah, that's the biggest low light for me. Another low light has to do with the story.
Oh,
What's the
okay.
deal with the freaking lightning bolt between the
Yeah.
axe and the hammer?
Yeah, that never
We don't touch on
really,
that at all.
not really, no. Like
No,
we
not even
get,
a hint. Not even a hint of like, oh, wait until the next game or
yeah,
something. That
yeah,
was kind of a low light for me because it was right at the beginning after all that awesome shit,
yeah. And
and
then we
it's just
just
You
like,
see
like,
two of them, right?
you
So
do see
yeah,
it's
you
two of
see
them.
a second one.
But
one's
even
from
like,
So
Faye and one's from Kratos. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
At first I thought the lightning bolt um ripped through all the realms. So it was in the exact same location in each realm.
Oh,
But then it was right next to the was it the temple, Tyr's temple?
right.
And then
yeah,
when you go to the crater, Tyr's temple isn't even nearby, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so that's what I thought initially, but then I realized that afterwards.
Yeah, because like I even the crater lightning bolt had a bit more um fulfillment to it, right? Because it was
mm,
kind of
Yeah.
like a mystery of like, oh, how did that get there? And then you find out it's like, oh, Faye fought Thor here.
yeah,
It's not
She's
like
got a
it's
bit
a
of a
bad
dark side too, right?
it's not like it's a bad thing. It's just I got this itch I need to
Yeah,
scratch, you know?
totally,
And I don't
totally.
get
yeah.
it scratched.
It must have
Yeah.
to do with like the Leviathan axe. It freezes stuff, so maybe it's so powerful it can freeze a lightning bolt. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
never
it was
really
Yeah, yeah.
specifically mentioned that way, but that's what I kind of gathered from it.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
very
that's
much
true.
just face value of like Thor lightning, Kratos frost, frozen
Yeah,
lightning
that's.
bolt.
I
That's
was like,
about it.
okay,
We're moving
that's
on.
what I. Who knows if
Yeah,
that's
that's
what it's
probably
actually meant? I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably just it. It's just the two powers coming together.
Yeah. You and I were kind of expecting maybe a little bit more of like, oh, that might come back into the story somehow. Nope. We're just gonna
Nope.
do other stuff, which is fine. Which is
Yeah.
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think my only other it's not a gripe, it was just that I took more time getting used to things and I also didn't pursue some of the new avenues of like gameplay features. Um I did like the mods feature for the abilities, but you also have to do a lot of um, like mental work. You have to put the mental effort in to like really keep track of what abilities you need to keep using to like level them up and whatnot and get those damage
We talked
bonuses.
about that in the first where it
Yeah,
was like I know what I'm doing, but what do I have selected right now? What do
yeah,
I have? Yeah, so I was like that for most of the game, but like I said, once I set it and kind of forgot it, it was good. But yeah, those first 10 hours where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to use, it was like, oh man, my brain is spinning. What buttons am I supposed to press?
yeah. I think the uh it could be overwhelming to someone as well with the at like the level of depth they have for everything too, because like when you really like list it on paper, like you have like once you've gotten all three weapons, you have the ability trees for all three, right? Then you have heavy and light runic attacks for each weapon.
Yeah.
Then you
To level
have
up all of those. Oh.
yeah, then you have to level up those. Then you have all of your armor. And then you have your amulet with the like jewel slots and everything,
Yeah.
right? I think Danny's falling asleep. and then
Sorry.
you
Sorry.
have the hilt, the like relic that you can
Yeah.
do, right? Like, and that's
The
not even
blades.
finished.
Yeah.
Blades, the shield, right? Like
I
there's
didn't even know you could level up runic attacks until about halfway through the game. I'm like,
yeah.
holy shit, this would have made my life a
Me
little bit
too.
easier.
Me too. I use the same like light runic attack on my axe for like 90% of the game. And it
Yep.
wasn't until
Same.
like I got to like Muspelheim with Kratos that I was like, holy shit, I can level this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um oh, I thought of another gripe I had. What was it? Oh, yeah. My one of my biggest gripes, and this also kind of comes down to personal preference, the armor. There's
Oh
in
yeah.
the first game they established three sets of like three types of armor sets, right? You have the
Yeah.
single shoulder guard, you have the double shoulder like pauldrons, and then you have the full chest plate. They like designed Kratos with the single shoulder guard, so that's what I usually went with. I just liked the look of it in the first game. But then in the second game, they like I think I can honestly count on one hand the amount of single shoulder guard uh
Yeah.
options you have.
Once you get it
Like
to 10, you could like just switch how it looks, but you would also
yes,
have to level it up to 10. So it's one of those
well
things
that
too.
too. Yeah, you have to
Right.
sink in like
Hours and
resources
hours.
and everything. Well, and that too, yeah. But like there was so many more chest plate and double shoulder pauldron. It's a little thing, but like I was just astounded by the sheer difference in variety. Like there was so many chest plate options and like
Yeah.
none
Which
for
is
the
kind of
single shoulder.
surprising because I think most people associate Kratos with that look. I mean, I just went full chest plate the entire time just because I
Oh,
thought that
you
looked,
did.
yeah,
Oh,
I thought it
okay.
looked awesome.
Interesting.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna go with it. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, for the most part, I was surprised too because when we talked about it, you said you were doing just a single shoulder, and I was like, okay, well, I'll
Yeah.
see, kind of keep track. And yeah, there wasn't very many that
No. No.
looked cool. A and B, there weren't many
Yeah.
options on top of that. So like
Exactly. Yeah.
all of the there was several really cool full chest plates. Like the dragon one was awesome.
Yeah, the
That one I
dragon one
used a
was very
lot.
cool. Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, and then the
I
one
liked
that,
the Niflheim one, the like frosted edge
mhm,
on like some of the parts of it. That was really cool too.
yeah,
Yeah,
a
that was
lot of
just a
them were
little
awesome.
gripe.
Yeah, well that's fair because yeah, I used full chest. I used the one I can't remember what the one dwarf's name is, but she builds it for you, and if you punch people, it
Oh
um
yeah.
gives extra ability. So that's one I use. But yeah, for the most part, that's I only used the one, and then I just changed the look of it at the end once I got to level 10. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I always had the survival armor set, the initial one,
Yeah.
yeah,
and I just upgraded it to 10, and it turned out to be one of the best armors
Yeah,
in the game.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's just a raw stat upgrade too, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah,
it's well, and that I found that too. Like when I was kind of doing more exploration, after I had leveled up to 10, I was like, I wonder. I'll go through the list of armor I've collected over the course of this game and see if there's anything better. And there's like even like toggling it so the like comparison was max level too. It was like
yeah.
nothing came close to being like you'd always like gain maybe a little bit more in like one stat, but then drop a shit
Drop,
ton
yeah.
of everything else. So yeah, it was crazy.
I was hoping when you upgrade it to level 10, you'd get the cape back,
Oh,
you
I
know,
know. I
like in the
really wish
opening sequence.
that was in a
Yeah.
like had its own option too. The other
Yeah.
thing I completely missed out on, and it's probably more so my fault, but like the Fate Breaker variation of the single shoulder guard. I didn't like realize that was a thing until after I had already beaten Ragnarok and gone to war. But I think it was a little bit more like its purpose was you put it on before Ragnarok happens.
Yeah.
That armor set looks cool, although it's very identical to the survival gear.
Yeah.
Okay, creator goal. What do you guys think Santa Monica Studios goal was? Do you think they achieved it? Cole, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like we said, it's kind of the other half of the story they created in the first game. So I think they pretty much nailed everything in that regard. I mean, I watched an interview with the game director, and Corey Barlick basically said like he only gave him 3 points that he had to hit. So I mean, they
Mhm.
really didn't have a fully fleshed out story or anything. They had an idea, but the fact that they were able to pull this together in pretty short order, what it was, what, 4 years to develop
Mhm.
this? I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty quick. We both talked about it before. Like we were pretty certain it was going to get delayed. It wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think
Bug,
it ever had a delay at all,
no.
right? Like it
I
had
think
a
I ran into
one
a
one
few
release
bugs,
date
but
and then yeah,
nothing like that was completely game breaking. So like the amount
yeah,
of work that they put into this game, top to bottom, really
it's
unbelievable.
crazy.
Like it's a big game too. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
so
fully
big.
open world, but man, you can explore and put sync hours into just
Dude,
exploration. So
that crater section
yeah.
alone, I was
Yeah.
blown
Oh
away by
man.
how big that place was. Side quest
Same.
after
Like
side quest after side quest kept popping up.
yeah, and I went back to do the platinum and just exploring everything, and I didn't even like I could probably sink another 20 hours into that game and still not do
Easy.
everything. So
Yeah,
yeah, the what they were able to do in only 4 years and really develop and present a story that's something I'd want to play again is really impressive.
totally. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Danny?
Yeah, they nailed it. Um, for them to come off of the first game, it had a huge amount of weight on its shoulders, right?
Absolutely.
Ragnarok is coming, and especially the ending of Thor, showing up at the
Yeah.
house, and then
Yeah.
that's it. That's the black. So like it had a lot of momentum going into it, and they hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
They nailed it. I would have liked to see more eventful moments because, like, for me, that's a God of War thing,
Mm.
Mhm.
like in the first one, you battle the dragon in the mountain, and it's so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You're stuck inside his mouth,
Yeah.
and you're hitting him. And what else was there? I
Magni and
forget.
Modi, that
Yeah.
was a
Yeah,
big
yeah, yeah.
moment too,
That
right?
was big, like big boss
The
battles.
first Baldur
But
fight, right? The
Oh yeah.
first
yeah,
troll fight too was like
yeah,
big in and of
yeah,
itself, right?
yeah. The second game had a lot more bosses, though.
Yeah.
Mini bosses,
Boss
I guess.
variety and
Yeah, it
enemy
was
variety
crazy.
was like dialed up to 20,
It was
man.
way,
Yeah.
yeah, way
All the
better in the second.
berserkers, like oh man.
Ooh,
Yes,
yeah.
those are tough.
Yeah. And then
Um,
a Valkyrie Queen on top of that
Oh,
too.
oh yeah, that Valkyrie Queen was good. Not as hard as the first game one though. What's her name? I
oh, I
forget.
thought it was
She.
easier the
Sigrun.
first game, but
Oh
I
really?
I
oh,
th-
I had to bump my level down for that fight because I did it like 10
really
times. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I bumped it down. It still took me another 10 to get it. So
I think I probably got like probably around 15 tries in for sure. But I
Mhm.
think I actually might have done this one in less tries than Sigrun. Like
oh really?
Sigrun got me. Yeah, Sigrun was tough for me. But I think
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more developed in my gamer skills, capital G gamer. So
That's because you played the Greek trilogy, but
there you
right
go.
before,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
you
you were missing,
you had
Cole. You need to go
Yeah.
you
play the
had the,
Greek
Probably.
the
trilogy.
Kratos.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had the Kratos in you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But yeah,
the weight.
I have video footage of that too. Like when I post it on YouTube, you're gonna see my hands doing this. It's gonna be insane.
Oh god.
That
It's a good
boss
thing I
battle
didn't
was
film
tough.
it because I was losing my mind.
I think the camera actually helped my rage stay inside. I'm like, deep breaths.
Yeah. Let it
Um,
out.
yeah,
It's good
yeah.
entertainment
I can
value.
cut out anything I don't want to
Yeah,
see.
All
exactly.
right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cole, what difficulty did you play at?
Just what is the regular? I can't remember what it
Yeah,
was called.
normal or whatever.
Normal
Oh,
mode.
no.
Yeah.
Or give me
Oh, okay.
balance, I think is the
Give me
middle, right?
balance. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. The boss variety was amazing. Like
Yeah.
there were the huntresses. They brought back the trolls, although they did
Yeah.
that fun little nod of like immediately killing the first troll you see.
Yeah.
The gator creatures were really sweet.
The troll. Like as soon as he kills the troll, there's a new entry in the journal, and I read that right away. Oh, it's
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. He
it's just
like
like he cushioned our fall, so I thanked him by putting him out of his misery.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
The journal entries are so good, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, the boss variety was fantastic. Uh, yeah, they knocked it out of the park. This is a worthy successor to God of War 2018 in almost every right. It might not have I you know what? I think what it probably is it doesn't pack as big of a punch as 2018 for me. And I
Hmm.
think it's just because of the sheer amount of stuff that's in it. It's just
yeah,
so much good stuff that
and it's
Yeah,
just
it's
bigger
hard,
too, right?
and it's bigger. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
there's
yeah.
just so much there. It's not as easy to pick out these moments other than like maybe a few, maybe like the really monumental ones of like the beginning, Brock's death, right, and like kind of the end stuff too. So but
I,
yeah, I think it like they absolutely nailed it.
yeah,
And you guys think you'll replay it? I think I'm
yep,
definitely going to replay it at least once for sure.
yeah.
Probably
yeah. I'm gonna
multiple times.
replay 2018 first because it's been a while since I've played it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm. It's definitely on the backlog again at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, the impactfulness of this one compared to 2018. The first one has the blades going for it, right?
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing.
Hmm.
So it kind of like overshadows the second game a little bit in that regard
Right.
for
Well,
like
yeah, you
impact.
also have that weight that was behind 2018 too, right? Like it had
Yeah,
been so
Yeah,
long between
yeah,
3 and 2018, right? So
yeah,
like
yeah,
people didn't really know what to expect and they thought they were getting this completely fresh reboot, right? That had nothing to do with the Greek trilogy. And then you
yeah,
start getting that incorporated in, right? And getting some of the mystery of Kratos's backstory, right? And then you get that Blades moment, right?
yeah.
yeah,
So
And like
um
yeah, with the 2018 one, the trailer, like I had no idea what it was, and then some guy throws the kid a bow. He's like, "Your mother taught you how to hunt, yes?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he steps out of the shadows. I'm hungry. It's like
yeah,
what is going on? Stuff
yeah,
like that. That the first game had. Everyone was waiting for the
yeah.
second one, right?
yeah,
They knew what was coming.
totally.
Yeah, and to be fair, like to have another Blades moment like that, it'd be so tough to replicate to do it twice
Yeah.
in a row. Like,
Yeah.
It
yeah,
would have
I
to
So
be. It would have to be Athena bringing back the blade of Olympus
yeah,
or something.
oh
yeah, I would
yeah,
like
yeah,
it would be have to be massive, and I don't know if it would have fit in the story wise, but
yeah.
Yeah,
again,
And well, like I was gonna bring up, like I actually, because like a theory I was running with, that many other people were thinking was gonna happen is we were gonna get Mjolnir. Like I
mm,
thought that might have happened, but that didn't end up
no,
happening.
yeah.
And no,
That would have been
that
that
would
would
have
have
been a
been
great
really
moment.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
don't know that it would have fit with the direction they took, and I think it fit
no,
really well with like once you go find Thrud in Alfheim,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
no,
I prefer that better through getting it,
Yeah.
in the story aspect, but it'd be nice to like just have some
Oh, we get to
bonus.
use the hammer,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
just to get to use the hammer though,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because it's cool in
yeah.
game, right?
Totally,
Yeah,
totally.
the video game thing, it's still a
Yeah,
video game. You have to
exactly.
follow the story
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, they knocked it out of the park. You
yeah.
guys are happy paying $90 plus tax for this game?
yep,
Worth every penny?
If
absolutely,
there was if there was like a freaking like a special deluxe edition that wasn't limited, I would have gotten that one
Yeah.
probably.
Made to
But
order
then
type thing?
yeah, made to order type thing. But
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to get the box. I
yeah.
probably wouldn't have gotten it though. It's worth it. This game's like worth a like $160 probably with the amount of stuff in there.
Yeah,
oh
man.
yeah,
It's just
There's so
crazy.
much.
Yeah.
yep,
There's so much. Yeah, I would fully endorse the full price tag.
yep,
Mhm.
Yeah. It yeah, I have only paid the full $90 price tag I think twice now for PS5 games. And I the other one was The Last of Us Part 1 and that was like a remake. So, and I was like thought it was worth it then. So this is absolutely like it's a completely fresh new
yep,
game, right? It's not a remake of something else.
Mhm.
And there's just so much to it, so much story and character, but then also a bunch new systems and way more depth to all these gameplay mechanics that they established in the first game that were already so good. The combat is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game, the Ragnarok, goes in tandem with 2018, and it feels like you should be playing the first one right before you start
Yeah.
the second one.
Yeah.
I
Like
agree.
I want to replay Ragnarok, but I don't want to replay it until I finish 2018
Yeah.
again first, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I
definitely like half and half. Like you need to play it needs to be fresh. Like I didn't replay 2018 before. I
mhm,
think
Right.
I did fairly well. Like there wasn't any point where like I have no idea what's going on, but I think it would have
mhm.
been a lot better if I replayed it right into it. So I
Well,
would
and you even get that recap too that they
yeah, the
offer, right?
recap
Which
was
is
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
watch that and they did yeah, it's really well done too.
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I did do because I did that whole Road to Ragnarok thing. I got to kind of experience the like playing 2018 right before, and it was really nice from the story perspective because I got like a little bit of a week between finishing one
Yep.
and starting the next. So it was like, oh, time has passed a little bit. So now Atreus has grown up and everything too, right?
Yeah, his voice threw me off for the first I don't know
Yeah, I
hour. I
was
was
like,
like
wait, did they bring back the actors? Like, oh,
yeah,
they did, and he's
he
grown
did.
up now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we watched mid '90s, which he stars in. Like I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
a few months before. It's so great, but
it is good.
hearing his voice
Yeah.
now is just what is mind blowing to me. I was like,
Yeah.
this is puberty's weird, man.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's a completely different person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, man. Worth full price. They knocked it out of the park.
yep,
Um Pros and
Um,
cons. Uh we'll do one pro, one con from each of us before we start to wrap things up. Danny, you want to go first? One pro that stands out to you and one con.
I love the recognition of the Greek games that
Those
they
little moments
had,
they
those
intersperse.
little moments. And when Kratos tells Freya, I killed my wife and daughter with my own
Yeah.
hands. And then she's just like, you know what?
You're
I
all
can
right.
forgive him. I can forgive him. I can see where he comes from, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, she's
uh,
like, "You don't know what I feel," and he's like, "No, I do,
yeah,
unfortunately."
yeah. By my own hand, you know.
Yeah.
Having the game bring up those moments from the Greek, like when I was a huge fan of the Greek trilogy, and people were like, "Oh yeah, it's just a hack and slash," but like I really enjoyed the story, but the game didn't really do a whole lot, like story wise, you know, like really build on it. They just hack and slash kind of thing. But I really, really love the story,
Mhm.
and these Norse games actually like bring it out a little bit more and
hmm
make like a lot of people realize that shit, man, that the first games go deep,
Yeah.
and like if you look at it from different angles and stuff,
Yep.
a lot of people regarded it as like geez, you know, mindless hack and slash kind of
Yep.
thing, which it was,
Mhm.
but I love the story, and yeah, it kind of feels like it finally gets some recognition.
Mhm. Yeah. The
Uh,
the the new additions, the Norse duology, I guess, actually like almost retroactively build some weight into the trilogy now,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
give it a little bit more meaning, right?
yeah. Because it was also limited by the PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like they're just focusing on getting from point A to point B so you can
Yeah.
kill the god, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, but like my pro for this game was having Kratos bring out his past. He's like, I killed the fates, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
The gods of my lands can control all aspects. So you realize they're so much more powerful, right?
Mhm.
As what's his name, Balder, right? He
Yep.
says, and I thought you were so much more enlightened, you know.
Mhm.
And it's like the Greeks were,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I just loved. I was hoping, and now it's going into my con,
Perfect. Nice
which
segue.
isn't a con, right? Which
Right.
isn't
Yeah.
a con too much. It's just like another itch
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
need to scratch because the game is just so good. I was hoping Athena would show up again.
Interesting.
Yeah, because my pro was the Greek stuff, and now I'm kind of like thinking about the Greek stuff. I was like, it would have been nice to probably see Athena. You know, I got that itch now because she showed up in the first one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like yeah, and like another con. Uh, like Athena is a part of the Greek thing. How did she get there? How did Kratos get there? I
Right.
was
Yeah, we
hoping
still
an
don't really know.
explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping explanation about that.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the lightning bolt thing was going to lead towards it,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on, Odin obsessing over that green
Yeah.
tear.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping they would explain that, and that's probably the answer.
Yeah. Not
Obviously,
now
they're gonna.
though.
Yeah, not now. Like they're gonna come out with a game after this one. They have to either Atreus or Kratos,
Mm-hmm.
and that I think the Atreus game is going to be focusing on that tear, and it's probably going to explain Kratos maybe,
Yeah,
or if
maybe.
not that Kratos game, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really hope it's a con. It's a con for me because I'm going to spend another $80 on the next game because I have to find out what the hell that tear is all about. That's why it's a con for me
They
because I
got you.
can't wait.
They
I
got their
can't
hooks
wait
in you.
to drop money.
Yes. Cole, how about you? One pro and one con?
Sure. Pro, I think I'll say for $90 you're gonna get your money's worth and even more. So if you're worried
Yeah.
about like, $90 is a lot of money for a game, it is. No denying that. But
Mm.
man, I got, like I said, I got 45 and plus hours, and I could have
Yeah.
kept playing. It's just
Yeah.
if you were in the mood for one game that's gonna carry you out for the next several months, definitely this one.
Yeah.
Especially if you played the 2018, there's no reason you shouldn't pick it up.
Totally.
Con, I don't know. We kind of went over my cons. I guess it's not really a con, but I am gonna miss the Norse era so much. Like
Oh
not
yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
Freya again or Mimir, like that
Mm-hmm.
hurts. I don't know if they're going to be in the next game. I doubt it. I imagine they'll be kind of locked into the Norse mythology, which makes sense. But we're going to be leaving so many great characters behind after this game that it just makes me sad thinking about no Mimir and no Freya and Atreus. I mean, I'm sure we'll see him again, but it's just going to be so different compared to where they are now. And and again, I think
Mm-hmm.
it was a great point by Danny saying like, how did he get there? I imagine we'll get that answer at some point if they're taking him to a different mythology next, which it sounds like they are. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
There was a lot of hints of between Mimir and Kratos where Mimir isn't from Norse mythology; he's from Celtic.
hmm
The game doesn't outright say that, right? But the water horse, right, isn't Norse; it's
yeah,
Celtic,
Mm-hmm.
and the barbarian
Yeah. He talks
king
about his
guy,
homeland a lot.
yeah, all that shit.
Yeah.
So maybe the next game will be Celtic, and Mimir will come with
Yeah. Maybe.
Kratos.
Yeah.
there we
Kratos and
go.
Mimir will go
Yeah,
together. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like the one thing I was hoping for out of this game was to find out how Kratos got there and what happened to the Greek stuff,
Yeah.
right? I
Maybe you
think
just
we're
walk.
gonna go. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe he
He
just
just
walked.
walked.
Yeah, maybe he just sailed the sea and found new
Uh,
land, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's all in the same realm.
Mm-hmm.
Midgard is the same realm as everything else.
Yeah. Maybe. Um, yeah,
Mount
I would
Olympus.
say like 45 hours at least in your first playthrough, and then like complete replayability, like will get you your 90 dollars worth for sure. Um, yeah, I really liked this Norse mythology. I'm glad we'll hopefully at least get one more game out of it with like Atreus.
yeah,
I would love to see because the way they kind of left things open, I would love to see a Atreus and Fenrir game in the style of kind of like The Last Guardian,
Oh
where they're
yeah.
like going and finding all of the missing giants and everything.
the world
Definitely,
serpent will have to
hopefully
make an
better.
appearance there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then you could even hopefully tie in some of our beloved characters too, right? Like
Yeah,
if it works, you could even potentially mend the bond between Sindri and Atreus as well too, right? If it
yeah,
fits, you could explore the relationship between him and Angerboda a little bit more too. Have Freya show up too.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we'll hopefully get at least one more game with them before we move on to the next pantheon or whatever with
Yeah.
Kratos and maybe Mimir. That'd be really exciting, and I
yeah,
think it could still evoke some of the same feelings and tones if we went Celtic after this one,
yeah.
Yeah.
because they are
Like
kind of similar, right?
with the world serpent getting hit so hard he goes back in time, maybe those murals were of Kratos visiting these lands
Yeah.
at some point, right? Because they're both the god of war.
Hmm.
Maybe there was a butterfly effect at some point with Kratos doing something or something happening that it switched over from Tyr to Kratos, and he's the one who's getting revered now, right?
Getting into the
Eventually.
theory hour of the review show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. My one pro and con, I think the I had like a really like an overarching one, but I don't remember it now. Uh, I'll just say one of my favorite moments I think was the drop near spear moment with Brock. That was just it was such a cool moment to get a new weapon forged.
Yeah.
Um, and like play with afterwards once we have it, but then you also get like a ton of emotional weight too, where
Yep.
like Brock is like coming to terms with being dead and being resurrected, right? And Kratos is like, no, you're still worthy. Like, I need you to bless this thing, right? Like, I acknowledge you as uh, the being you are, right? It was
Hmm.
just such a great 1-2 punch of like awesome, cool game moment, and then like really heartfelt
Yeah.
story beat, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, that game was filled with stuff like the Fenrir death right off the fucking bat, like
Yeah.
just making you like cry your eyes out like right off the bat was just crazy.
Yeah.
And that whole Helheim bit too with battling Garm, like that was an awesome boss
Yeah.
battle. And then
Hmm.
getting Fenrir back too, right? And then
Awesome.
also like
So
almost
good.
immediately after that, you get that heart to heart with Kratos and Atreus, and Kratos like straight up apologizes
Yeah.
Hmm.
for chasing after him, right? So good. And then my con, I'll do the easy one and go back to my single shoulder guard complaint. Not enough
Fair
single
Oh
enough.
shoulder
yeah,
guards.
yeah.
um, I think it's safe to say we would recommend this to people,
Yes.
right? If
Yep.
you liked the first game, um, then this will only satiate you more if you're wanting more of that type of game.
And if you haven't played
Uh,
the first one, you get 2 new games. So
exactly,
enjoy.
yeah. If you haven't played
Oh
the first
yeah,
one, why haven't you played it yet? You now have a
yeah.
follow up to play right after it too, right? I mean, if you weren't into like if you have no interest in this sort of game, then I guess it's not for you. But I mean,
I
you're
would say
barking up
give
the
it a
wrong
try.
tree at
Like,
that point. Yeah, even give it a
I never
try.
played
Like,
the original God of War games, still haven't, and I love both of
yeah,
these games. So I would
Right.
definitely say just give it a try and see if you like it.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So Nicholas, what do you give this out of 10? Eh?
Okay. And that's where we're going to end the show, ladies and gentlemen. Um,
How are people going to know if they can buy it or not if you don't give them a score out of 10?
do you guys not know what the name of this show is called?
No, what
Only
is it?
score review, right?
All right. That's enough out of you.
Thank you.
Cole,
Hey.
where can the people find you?
Oh, I don't know. Twitter,
Online
Instagram, I
specifically.
guess.
Don't give your street
Instagram.
address.
Yeah, please don't visit me at home. I don't need any of that. Just Instagram and Twitter, all those fun spaces.
Okay.
Um,
Just at Cole
C
Parkinson,
Parkinson
right?
4. Yep,
Oh, okay.
Cole Parkinson 4.
There you go. And any recommendations at all for movie, game, TV, anything?
Yeah, actually, I just started Peacemaker yesterday, and I was like, I'm just
Ooh.
gonna watch an episode or two. No, I fucking ripped 6 in a row because I was like, this is so good. It's hilarious. I'm laughing my ass off. John
Cool.
Cena is great. Yeah, if you liked Suicide Squad, definitely check out Peacemaker.
Nice.
It's fantastic.
Very
Mm,
cool. I'll have to check it out. Danny, any
yeah.
plugs and or recommendations?
I don't really have
You
anything.
don't do the
I don't
online
like.
scene.
Yeah, I
No.
have Instagram and Facebook, but I have enough friends on
Yeah.
there, and I don't post anything. I
Fair
think,
enough.
yeah.
Anything you've been,
Recommendations.
yeah,
Lawrence of Arabia, Nicholas. That's my
for the
recommendation
people, not for me. I know what you're recommending to me.
for the people.
Yeah.
The original God of War trilogy.
Yeah. Oh, there you
There
go.
you go.
There you go. Yep.
I enjoyed it, and like the new game adds a lot more weight to it
Totally.
in terms of story.
Yep. I
Nice and
can
simple.
attest to that as
Yeah,
having recently played them for the first time. It
yeah.
absolutely lends to those moments for sure.
And it's really cool, like seeing where he came from,
Yeah.
and why he is the way he is
Yeah. And how he's
in the
changed
new
too,
game.
right?
Yeah,
Fantastic addition.
yeah.
You can watch those games be played. If you don't want to play them yourself, you can go to my YouTube channel at NoScore Plays, where I did the whole Road to Ragnarok of playing the mainline God of War games up until Ragnarok. And I think this episode I'm going to try and get uploaded for Friday, December 23rd. And that will also be the same day the final episode of the main story for Ragnarok uh, comes out that day as well. So you can get the full story of Ragnarok if you want to go check that out as well. Um, and if you want more review show content, I did a review for Andor, the newest Star Wars show, which I gave high praise. And I also reviewed Avatar: The Way of Water, which I got to see in theaters. And I also gave high praise as well. That was a visual spectacle to behold with some pretty solid story. So yeah, find me everywhere else on social media at NoScore or at NoScore Reviews on Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything. And until then, thank you all so much for watching or listening to this episode of the NoScore Review Show. Thank you, Cole and Danny, again for joining me.
Thank you for having me,
And
Nick.
Thank
we'll
you.
see you all in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye.